Good morning. It is June 17th.
Oh, is this
17th. This is 17th.
But I know it's Tuesday.
Yes, it is. I had to check.
The only reason because I was booking campgrounds yesterday. It's the only reason.
Yes. So we've been on the road now for just short of 2 months, and we thought we would do a little bit of a video for everybody because we get so many questions from our YouTube channel. Well, actually, no, we don't. We don't get any. Nobody even notices.
Ask us a question, okay?
Please ask us a question. Somebody type in a question. We're desperate to answer one. Anyway,
Dean, you must have a question.
Come on, Dean.
Abby, come on.
I think Autumn is the one that has got all the questions. So, okay, so Tracy's going to give you the stats summary.
Okay, we are on day 59. We have gone 11,900 kilometers. And we have been in the car together how many hours?
150 hours.
150 hours.
150 long and grueling hours.
We have seen.
I have my little helper.
I'm the helper. I'm the assistant. Navigator.
She tells me when there's stop signs and stop lights. And then when I go too fast, she puts her brake on.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see that.
Going to go to animals. This is
okay, animals.
An hour long.
Okay, sure.
Okay, 3 moose, 3 foxes.
Does that include the foxes here?
Yes, it does.
Oh, okay.
4 bears, 9 porcupine. It's actually more than that, but we kind of lost track.
Well, and one was dead.
And one was dead too.
Yeah.
1 skunk, 1 beaver. The beaver was very cool.
Yeah, the beaver was at Churchill Falls.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and actually we were able to get really close to it.
Yeah.
So that's our count for animals, which I actually am really surprised. Thought it would be higher.
No, there's one more animal. Jackrabbits. We have seen so many rabbits, like it's infinity.
Yeah.
Like it's just not even on the chart because there's so many jackrabbits.
Now we've done tons of steps because of walking the dogs and all the little things in there, but on official hikes that we have done 66 kilometers of hikes, just hiking trails, and we'll talk a little bit more about some of those. Some have been.
And boy, are Dobby's legs tired.
Yeah, poor old Dobby. The dogs have done all of them. We've been in 7 provinces so far. We have boondocked 18 days. We have been in Harvest Host 10 days. We've been in 6 campgrounds, and we've mooch dock, which is staying with friends and family. Thanks all.
Thank you.
22 days.
Yeah.
There's our stats.
That's the stats. Okay, thank you, Tracy, for the great accounting of the stats on this trip. Now, there's a couple more stats that I'll throw in there. We've had 1 oil change, and we need another oil change. We're going to get that on Friday. And we've actually wore out a pair of tires. Shut up, this is important. Men want to know. So anyway, so that's additional stats. Best of, Tracy, best view.
Best view? I'm gonna say Western Brook Pond. The boat ride we did in Gros Morne, the views in there were just incredible. Like, you know, that would be one for the books for me in terms of that. Outside of that, the hike that we did in Twillingate, we were hiking up along the shores up and around Rocky Craigs, and we'll talk a bit more about that hike, but the views were stunning.
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna go a different way because and no doubt Western Brook Pond is just absolutely gobsmackingly amazing, beautiful. But I think for me, probably the best view was cresting the hill as we were coming down towards Red Bay, and we seen our first iceberg. And it was like, it was all real. Like everything that we'd been hoping to see and all that, we were checking something off the old must-do box, right? So
that was pretty incredible.
So I'm gonna put up iceberg viewing for the first time. On the 27th time, they're good. But the first time seeing an iceberg was amazing. The first iceberg is, you never forget your first.
You never forget your first iceberg.
Shush, quiet. Okay, so
just a second. Then there's also Manic 5 at night.
Manic 5 at night.
That was really stunning.
And I'll tell you what,
a man-made site.
Yeah, and the prairie sunset across Saskatchewan, amazing.
Yeah.
The sun setting across the lake at Lac Loup was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, all of those things are just right off the chart. Of course, kids, seeing the grandkids was like the best view ever.
Oh yeah.
Yes, yes, Dean. You,
Well, they're not a
Abby,
view.
yes,
They're
Maeve.
not a view. Seeing,
Yeah.
seeing all
Penny,
the grandkids.
you know.
Seeing all the grandkids was awesome.
Autumn, yeah, those are the best views.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, those are views that hugged back, right?
Yes.
And I really liked that they hugged
Or in
back.
Autumn's case, spit back.
Well, yeah, there was that too. So, okay, so that's sort of the best of. Now, attractions. Best attraction.
You know what, for me, it really has stand out, and it was Point Amour Lighthouse. It's the second highest lighthouse in Canada, and you can climb up it. So we got to the top, and you're up at the top, you're surrounded by glass walls. And two of them were broken because ducks had flown into them, and they just got film plastic covering them, and it was.
And for the record, just to interrupt here for a second, that glass is not just any old kind of glass. That is like 1/4 inch thick, special glass that you can get in modern times in the old lighthouse. But when those ducks hit, it was a catastrophe. Like, holy cow.
They were waiting for the Coast Guard to come and fix it.
It's a big deal.
We got to the top and climbed the stairs, which was cool. The building's so cool. And then at the top, all of a sudden, the big gust of wind came, and it kind of went through that plastic film, and I got wobbly legs. And I don't get wobbly legs easily in those kinds of things. It was like, okay, I need to go back down. But this amazing building, and the fact you could walk up and be standing right beside the light, and then the museum below, to me, was one of the best museums, too, that we've been in. It was really cool. Talking about the history of the area, the Basque whale hunters, and the fishermen, the French fishermen, which is a common theme of history around here. That was one of my, I think, a top attraction for me.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go a different way again. A top attraction for me again. I'm going to go back to icebergs, and we did the boat trip, and it was amazing for me till we got to the iceberg, and then for the first time in my life, I went a little green and got a little seasick. A lot seasick. I painted the side of the guy's boat. I'm sorry. Like, it was nasty.
He fed the fish for a day.
Oh my gosh. There was fish eaten for a week after that.
Yeah.
So, but I tell you what, the iceberg that we went, what, it was about 3 miles offshore?
I don't know how many
miles.
miles,
I think it was about 3 miles, he said. And it was about 400 feet across and about only 50 feet tall or so, because it was like a little Mexican hat. But the guy said it had been anchored there for a week, 2 weeks.
Yeah, a couple of weeks, yeah.
And it was because the thing had hit bottom and anchored itself. But bottom was 200 feet down.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
And in fact, a week later, when we were hiking Burnt Cape Ecological Reserve, oh gosh, I forgot about that too.
Yeah.
We could see it. That was a clear day, and we could actually see the coast of Labrador and across the Strait of Belle Isle, and we could still see it there. And if you follow Whalers Quest adventure
they're awesome
tours on Facebook, they're great.
Yeah.
But even if you follow their Facebook page, like, he's still taking people out there. Like, it's still there. Like, it hasn't melted.
And they'll switch from icebergs to whales once the whales arrive in another few weeks.
Yeah.
So
they're just here now. They're starting to hit
so
here.
Back to the best attractions. I'm gonna also go with the lighthouse at Lemoore, but for a different reason. That lighthouse is 130 plus years old, something like that.
Yeah.
And back in the day, they're building with, Portland cement hadn't been invented yet, and they're doing whatever the local stuff is, because you're only using local materials and rock, and that thing is 6 feet thick at the base and 4 feet thick at the top, and it's a continuous straight shaft up the middle for the stairs to go. But from my
continuous what?
It's a continuous shaft.
What was the hand gesture
I'm not
there?
sure what that was. Shut up. Anyway, so your mind is just.
Sorry.
Holy cow.
Sorry, I just didn't know what you're doing.
Anyway, so it was quite a feat of engineering back in the day, back before we even called ourselves engineers, I think. But amazing work with local products, stone, cement, whatever they could get at the time, right?
That was it was just an amazing attraction. That one was really good. And I mean, then there's also the Viking settlement, Lanso Meadows, which is a National Historic Site.
And we did meet the guy there that was on Curse of Oak Island, because everybody knows we're acorns, and for all you naysayers out there, they are going to find the treasure.
And for your acorn, guys, we saw the guy there, which was really cool.
Yeah.
But that one was just amazing, the education of it, learning about it. And the way they had it set up was they had actors who are in character while you're there.
And in costume.
And costume and character. And they talk about, and they're all locals. And, you know, sometimes they would come out of character and say, yeah, oh, my grandfather used to play, you know, in these grounds. And the guy that owned it used to tell them their stories that it was an Indian ancient burial ground and they would die if they went on it because it pushed down the grass for his animals, his goats and sheep to eat. So learning those kinds of stories was very cool.
And it turned out that one of the guys that was in the educational video at the beginning of the tour was actually the guy who was at the local restaurant that we stayed at as part of Harvest Host, and he did the entertainment for the evening, and he was amazing.
He was a guitar player.
Shout out to Wade, and we'll put a little clip in here.
You were a great musician, and we saw your acting too on the video, so that was very cool.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And he had just retired 3 days before that.
Yep.
25 years working with
Parks Canada.
With Parks Canada, which is so cool. So.
Yeah. So, okay, we got to move on. Okay, best of hikes.
Well,
there's only one answer. There's only one answer.
The best and worst. I'm actually going to say the one we did yesterday here, which is in Tilting Fogo Island.
It's a lie.
No, I loved it. It was because it was only 4 kilometers.
There you go.
And it wasn't hard.
There's it.
It was through a grassy area that just this area is settled by Irish.
Yes.
And it actually, I can see why. It just feels like you're in Ireland, just with the rocks and the grassy areas, and just these little trails that you could go along, very well maintained. Took you right to the edge of the ocean and the rocks and the waves, and it was just a very beautiful, beautiful hike, and I enjoyed that because it wasn't life-threatening.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, I'm going to say the best hike was actually the hardest one because it tested Tracy to her limits.
Did it test you at all?
Yeah, I was feeling it, right? I was never at any point worried or scared because I knew that there was nothing really that could be a disaster, short of something natural happening. But it was just amazing
I was worried
views.
my knee was going to give up on me.
And it was truly a magnificent opportunity for me to do one of my favorite things, and that is to take a beautiful walk and turn it into a murder mystery.
That's one of your favorite things.
Oh, it was. I really enjoyed that immensely. Video to follow or to come, or maybe you've seen it. I don't know.
So this hike was it was advertised on All Trails to be 8.9 kilometers.
It's called Nanny's Hole.
Moderate. Nanny's Hole and Lighthouse Trail.
Yes.
Of course we had to do it because it's called Nanny's Hole.
Yes. And her mind is in the gutter.
I know, it's Nanny's Hole.
Oh, yeah. And then there was Horny Cove.
There's Horny Cove.
And there was...
There's something else. It was very funny. But you'll see in the video.
Yeah, we'll save some of that.
It was not moderate. In fact, one of the people in the comments, like, the review said, oh, it's kid friendly and dog friendly. It was dog friendly if you had really well behaved dogs, which we thankfully have. They're good hikers. They've been hiking all their lives. But it was definitely not kid friendly, and I don't think it was Tracy friendly. It was.
You did good. You got through it.
The first half was great.
The little breakdown about 8 kilometer mark was okay.
Because we're supposed to be done at 8.9 kilometers, and we were nowhere near done.
No, we weren't done. So you had a little breakdown, and that was all right. But the thing I was most proud of is you got right back up and you kept on going. So good for you.
Yeah. So the second half was first we went through a forest, and the mosquitoes decided to come out in full force. So I was getting bombarded, and I have my neck is covered in mosquito bites to prove it from the last few days. And then there were parts that were almost 90 degrees. You're coming down, and there's no way this is moderate. And then we went from that to being on the side of the Rocky Mountains where the edges, and there's cliffs going down, and you had maybe 12 inches of not really solid ground to go through, and if you missed, you just fell down the cliff. So
you just died. It's all,
What meanwhile, mosquitoes coming at you. So.
I was very grateful to have my mosquito catcher with me because usually I'm the one that gets eaten. But this year, for whatever reason, Tracy is attracting all of the
I'm the main
bugs.
attraction.
I've only had 2 or 3 bites, and I'm very grateful to have you with me. So thank you.
So
okay, we got to move on.
It was a beautiful hike, beautiful scenery. It was just way more than what was advertised.
Okay, so biggest surprise. I know what mine is.
You go first.
Okay, my biggest surprise was learning from firsthand account of talking to a local guy in Red Bay that we were there only 3 weeks after the last polar bear left. I had no idea that polar bears came this far south down onto the southern coast of Labrador. And then I was even more shocked when we got to St. Anthony and discovered not only were polar bears in St. Anthony, which is south of Lancel Meadows, but they actually have footage of a polar bear on the roof of a lady's porch while the lady's in the house opening the door. So there's a whole news story about that. It's on YouTube. We'll put a link in the show notes to get you to that video. It's just stunning revelation to me. I had no idea that polar bears came that far south. Amazing.
I think the biggest surprise for me is the weather, and I don't know why. Maybe I should have done more research. It's super windy here all the time, and I thought, being from Vancouver Island, that it's like, we know winds. We know them. We get the winds off the Pacific, but we get wind warning when it goes to 50 kilometers an hour, gusts up to 80 kilometers an hour, and here it's about 100 kilometers an hour before they even think about putting out a warning. Yeah. It's windy most days, and you have to get used to it, which is fine. I mean, I love this weather. This is my jam. This kind of day, 18 and breezy, but it's just like the farm that we visited, which was amazing.
This is the most poignant part of the wind story.
Yeah, they said, oh yeah, we can get winds of 180 to 200 kilometers an hour, no problem. To the point where the guy told Don when he was giving us the tour.
Yeah. He told us that they had lost the plastic off of both of their greenhouses, and I was looking at their greenhouse thinking, man, that's pretty low. He goes, oh, actually, it should be a lot taller, but I've sunk it 3 feet into the ground and welded railway ties to each post so that we can anchor it in so we can survive the wind. I was stunned.
Yeah.
I was absolutely, so their greenhouses would have been 14 feet tall, just like ours, but they had them down 3 feet. So the top of them were only at about 11 feet, which is pretty low for, growing any sort of vine crop like cucumbers or tomatoes or anything like that. But then I'll let Tracy speak to the growing season.
Oh, just their growing season is super short. Like they don't start getting tomatoes till like August, and like August and September is basically it. Where I'm getting pissed if I don't have a tomato off the vine by the end of June.
She meant upset.
No, I'm pissed. At the end of June, and we can go to November, sometimes even December with our hoop houses. So
yeah.
They have a short growing season.
Very short.
So it's very hard for them to get groceries. So they sell everything that they grow. I sell to the restaurants in the area, in the Grossmoorn area. And they have a CSA, 50 people, they cap it at that. And they're saying that the restaurants love to buy from them because when they order from like Cisco or GFS, the big delivery companies, most of the time they have to throw half of their produce out because by the time it gets to them, half of it's rotted.
It's all done.
So
their farm is about 6 times our size in terms of growing area, but their revenue is just a little more than twice of our revenue.
Yeah.
So I hats off to those guys. Like if you see this video, I salute you, man. You guys and they've literally started at the same time we started the farm. They are about our age, and they've done 10 times as much work.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah, so that's been amazing. Been amazing. Okay.
Okay, let's see here. I guess we're gonna wrap it up with cultural interactions. We had one just today. Yes. So cultural interactions.
We've had many, like we've just had so many.
Yeah.
I think there's 2 that stand out for me. Today we met Anne. And if you're watching, hi Anne.
Hi Anne.
Who's born and raised here in Fogo Island, but as many people in Newfoundland went away and then came home. And on the license plate of Newfoundland, it says "Come Home."
Come home.
Which we just think is so cool.
That's nice.
So she was in Fort Mac and Woodstock. New Brunswick.
New Brunswick, yeah.
But it's back here now, and just was sharing of the area, the people, the culture, and as we were standing there, her teacher, former teacher, came up, gentleman, and Ron Dwyer, and he writes books, and he happened to have his books there, so I bought a book, which was awesome, and he
I'll
signed
put a picture here so you can see it.
and a link to, I think it's a link to an email or something. And he's written 6 books, stories about Newfoundland and Fogo Island. And so anyways, it was just really interesting. And I will say, for those of you who watch Clarkson's Farm, he is the Gerald of Newfoundland.
He totally is. If we'd have videotaped it, we didn't need captions.
So.
There's no question. So,
and that's our problem, not his.
Yeah.
We just had very heavy accent.
Okay.
What next?
So I think we're going to just wrap this up here.
Okay.
The last thing we were going to talk about was the actual hardware, the equipment. So the trailer, how's the trailer working for us? We've been living in it now for almost 2 months straight.
Yeah.
All the mods that we did and thought of doing, I'm very happy with, including the water solenoid. We didn't think that it was going to work for us at first, but after using it for 2 months, we've got a rhythm down, and we can get 130-degree hot water out of there with only wasting about half a liter of water.
Yeah, in a very layman's term, it's a system Don put in so that the on-demand hot water, when it's cycling up, we can not use the water that warms up because we have limited amount of water.
Yeah, we would waste about 3 liters of water before we got any hot water. And now we actually catch the half a liter of water or so that we get, and we use that for drinking water because that's a manageable number. And away we go. So the fridge is holding up, the battery's holding up. Got a little bit of wear issue on one of the tires, but I think it could just be because of the roads, because the roads have been questionable in most places and amazing in others.
And we've talked to other people, everyone agrees, BC, Ontario, great roads.
Yeah.
Everywhere else leaves a lot to be desired, particularly Quebec.
Yeah. When the roads are good, they're good. They're really good. But when they're bad,
Quebec was mostly bad.
Yeah.
Like Quebec was mostly bad, except for the first part of the Translab from Baie-Comeau up to Manic 5, which was great.
That was great.
The rest of it was not good. The Labrador Highway, Trans-Labrador Highway, was amazing. Like it's all freshly paved.
Yeah.
So many people have asked us, like, what's it like? And there's 2 sections that are gravel, but other than that, the roads were really good. But definitely. The trailer's taking a bit of wear and tear on the potholes. They have signs that say, watch out for the potholes. And I said,
there's a sign at the
just have a disclaimer when you come on the island.
There's potholes.
Yeah.
So, but the gear is holding up very well. The only issue we have right now is our propane cover is slowly beating itself to death because of the bumps. And we were hoping our dealer was going to get back to us by the time we recorded this so we could give them good praise, but sadly, that's been silence. So,
not really happy with Allendale.
Not really happy with that, Mr. Allendale.
Hopefully, we'll hear from them.
Yeah.
But I mean, all in all, for 11,000 plus kilometers, it's held up really well, as has the truck. We've been, knock on wood, we've had not a lot of problems from a mechanical standpoint.
Yeah.
So.
And then the one last thing I will say is that the one piece of gear that has really been outperforming and really doing well is Tracy. She's been holding up to the navigation, and she gets us where we need to go. She only gets us lost every now and then, and occasionally she puts me on Bob's road, which Bob was the last guy to use it. And I've only got caught once where we were in a pickle to get ourselves turned around, but mostly it was because some bus driver had parked the bus in a place where he wasn't supposed to park. So
at the Table Ends trailhead.
Which was a little bit of the geriatric tour. We were bringing the average age down quite a bit.
Yeah, there's a couple other things I do want to mention. Like, there is a lot more tourists here. And we were talking to Anne, I was asking her about it. She said, we knew we were going to get more. She said, because they got a lot of people from Ontario and Quebec last year, and they all said they were coming back. And we have met so many people that are here for the 2nd and 3rd time.
Yeah.
I totally understand why.
Yeah.
You do need more than a month to see the whole island. Not that you have to do it all in one fell swoop.
Yeah.
But you definitely do. But it's definitely heightened by what's happening with the tariffs, and I think they're very welcoming of tourists in Newfoundland. Like, just so welcoming.
Yes.
However you come. You know, if you're flying in
and
renting,
drive in. Yep.
or if you're like us boondocking on their local beach, which they're welcoming, it's been incredible. Yeah. So it's definitely, there's a higher volume. And in fact, we went to book our ferry and...
Yeah, that was sort of the eye-opening moment where we realized because we wanted to book it a couple weeks in advance, and a couple of weeks and it was booked. Like we're actually staying
5 days more.
5 days more,
and then we're on the overnight
with no
red
cabin.
eye with no cabin. So which was the one thing I really didn't want. But if it wasn't that, we were gonna have to wait till the middle of July, and we have Nova Scotia to see yet.
Yep.
So, and lots of other things. So that's what we're doing. The other thing is best fish and chips so far, the Daily Catch in St. Lunaire. Terry, you've got a great place going, another great local that we met and took time to speak with us while he was busy running 3 businesses.
Yeah, he runs 3 businesses and stopped and talked to us for what, half an hour?
Yeah, and his dad came over, like,
yeah, his dad lives across the street.
So kind here. And they'll leave their keys in the truck.
Literally.
They do.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's
so
wonderful.
I would fit in really well here.
Yes, for a bunch of reasons.
Anyways, we are off. We're going to go catch a ferry off of Fogo Island,
Yep.
and we'll talk to you. We'll have another get-together like this, a fireside chat or a beachside chat in another month in Nova Scotia.
Yep. Cheers.